I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? I think you can in Europe.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Whelm podcast, brought to you by the 3 Ps in a pod. Thanks for tuning in. Before we go any further, we would like to acknowledge that this land that we meet on today is the traditional lands for the Kaurna people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Kaurna people as the custodians of the Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Kaurna people today. Okay guys, how are you feeling today? Overwhelmed? Underwhelmed? Take a moment to reflect on your level of whelm.
I'm pretty overwhelmed at the moment.
Yeah. Big night, Belle.
It was a pretty big night last night. Well, I guess it fits quite well with our topic for today. But yeah, when you don't have parents around, you can throw huge, massive house parties.
I think massive is a little bit of an overstatement.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it was a pretty relaxed.
It was a fun house party.
Yeah, thank you. But yes, now the morning afterwards, I'm feeling pretty overwhelmed.
I'm feeling pretty whelmed at the moment. Okay, let's say 60% whelmed.
Okay.
And then the rest of it is like a bit overwhelmed because I made an appearance at that house party and I am very tired. But no, I'm having a really good morning. I suddenly realize why people like waking up early in the morning, because normally I would be asleep at this time and we're already, like, we've gotten through so much already. I'm like, oh man, wow, this is what it's like when I'm asleep. People are doing things.
This is how the other half lives.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like, I feel whelmed today compared to last week. Like, I've got an assignment due tomorrow, but I've done most of it. So I'm not going to stress about it until I get home, at which point I will be a little bit overwhelmed. But right now I'm like probably 80% whelmed. Like,
nice. That's where we want to be, the sweet spot. And for all those listening in, let us know how whelmed you are through our socials. Comment, like, subscribe, start a chat.
So today we're going to be talking about all things moving out or staying at home. We're going to be sharing our experiences about growing up with our families and entering that time in our lives where we're starting to step into our own person as individuals and as young adults.
Barbie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. So for all our listeners, I used to live in Sri Lanka for about 8 years. So from when I was born until I was 8 or 9 years old. And most of that time I spent with my grandparents, which may be a bit different for a lot of people growing up with parents. I have a really big extended family, so I do have like a lot of people who were caring for me at that point, and because my parents were away all the time. But once we moved here, it was really different for me because I got to spend a lot more time with my parents. Like, my dad was always away when we were in Sri Lanka. Like, he was always driving to different conferences and work events and stuff. And it was different seeing him, like, actually teaching us basic skills in life and, like, him teaching me how to drive and all of that. I got to know more about him as a person than just, like, when you're young. Like, your parents are your parents. But then, like, when you're growing up, slowly you see, like, oh yeah, my parents are also people. Like, they used to have their own lives before they had us.
Yeah. I saw a quote the other day, and it said something like, just a reminder, but this is your parents' first time at doing life too.
Yeah.
And it made me stop and think, because like obviously it is, but you know, when your parents telling you off about something, like, you're not like, oh my God, like, I get it. Like, you've never done this experience either. I'm just like, oh my God. Stop telling me off.
Like, like you assume because they've grown up, they automatically know
what they're doing.
What they're doing.
Yeah. So, like, seeing my parents as people and learning about them as people, it's been interesting. But, like, that sort of helped me, like, grow up and mature. But I think as well, like, this whole growing up thing, like, you mature in different things at different points in your life. Like, I'm still on my L's, so like, I don't know when I'm going to get my P's. It will happen. But like other things, like looking after myself when my parents are away, or like cooking, cleaning, doing basic household chores.
So you still live at home?
I still live at home.
Do you have any thoughts about moving out?
I have been having more thoughts recently. Sorry to my mum if she's listening. But I think now that I'm finishing up with like my honours degree, like not finishing up, but like after this year I'm going to be done with uni. So like I'm thinking maybe it's time to think about moving out, especially if I end up getting a job interstate. I'll obviously have to move out at that point. But even if I stay in Adelaide, like just having my own space and my own time to myself so I can go out and do things I want when I want to. But I have like, my parents are very open-minded about that kind of thing. They are very overprotective, but they're also like, okay, like you can go and do your own things as long as we know where you are, what you're doing, and that you're safe and you're happy. Like that's all that matters to us.
Do you think that would change if you did move out, or would they still expect you to check in like every day?
I think Mum would expect me to check in every day. She and I have a really close relationship, so I think her experience with her family was a bit different. So compared to that, like she and I are very close. So if I moved out, she would probably not like it, but she'd be okay with it. My dad would be like, he wouldn't mind too much, but he would still want me to check in and like say hello. And, like,
Dads are like that. I feel like whatever happens in my life, my dad is the last to know, and then by that time, the only thing he can say is be like, okay.
Every time I'm on the phone with I'm always on the phone with my mom, and Dad's always just in the background. Like he'll be sitting next to her, listening to everything, and then at the end of the call, he'll be like, "Bye, B, like love you," and I'll be like, "Bye, Dad." So he's heard everything. Like he knows what's happening, but he hasn't actually
interacted with you in any way.
I love you, Dad.
But I think like gradually we're getting used to the idea of like living separate lives.
You leaving the nest.
Yeah.
If it's like a slow, gradual thing, I think they get used to it a little bit instead of you just, I'm going to move out today.
Yeah. Because before I was going to start uni, I was thinking of doing uni interstate, and my parents were definitely more concerned about me leaving at that point in time than they are now. Like now they'd be more open to me finding a place to live and moving out. Yeah.
Fair enough. And what about you, Belle?
Growing up,
yeah. I am an expat child. So for those of you who don't know what that means, my parents moved around heaps for work, and so I got to move with them. So I've lived...
Yep, it was definitely your decision.
I was born in Sydney. I've lived in Papua New Guinea.
Wait, you were born in Sydney?
Yeah, I was born in Sydney.
How did I never know this?
Yeah, no, I'm not from Adelaide.
What? My whole life is a lie. Your whole life is a lie. You just pretend you're from Adelaide?
Adelaide's the longest place I've lived, so I consider myself an Adelaidean. But yeah, born Sydney, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Adelaide, Singapore, and now back to Adelaide. So moving around a lot, my nuclear family became really, really close because I'm not around my grandparents and cousins and things like that. So yeah, mum, dad, my two siblings, we're nice and tight. Obviously now though, I live in Adelaide and they still live in Singapore. So when I graduated high school, I decided that I wanted to come back to Australia for university. And so I moved into a residential college, which was...
Tell us about that.
Well, it was really, really... Obviously, it was during COVID, which messed everything up. But aside from that, it was so strange because I went from... I think my parents are pretty reasonable people, but obviously they have rules about what's expected of me. And I know that I had turned 18, so obviously those rules were going to change anyway. But moving out to having no one who could actually tell me what to do was really weird.
Did you go wild with that, or were you like very mature about it?
I didn't go wild with it. I think I've probably gone more wild the longer that I've been out of home because, like, you know, the boundaries slowly get bigger and bigger and bigger. You keep pushing them because I think I was a little bit scared when I first moved out fresh 18 in a different country to my parents, and obviously they'd check in on me every day. You know, I'd have a chat with them, call them every day. But yeah, if you want to go to bed at 4 a.m. and not come home till the sun rises, you can do that because there's no one waiting for you to get home, which is a really weird concept to wrap my head around.
I guess like before that, it was this like you a little bit being thrown in the deep end, having to take responsibility for yourself, or before that, had you had experience with like just staying alone or like going away like alone without your parents?
Not really. I'd never been on a plane by myself until I moved out and things like that. I'd never lived in a house. My parents didn't like leave us for extended periods of time or things like that. So
would you consider yourself a sheltered child?
in some ways, yes. I think I've had lots of experiences that other people haven't had because I've got to travel so much from such a young age. But yeah, I definitely think moving to college opened my eyes to a lot of things that I didn't know anything about. I was thrown in the deep end, but I was thrown in a deep end in a pool, not a
Ocean.
Yes, it was the deep end in the swimming pool, not the ocean.
Yeah, because college still has like boundaries.
They cook like you get your meals cooked for you, and you've got RAs who are like well-being people looking after you and things like that. So
I know now that you live outside of college independently.
Mm-hmm.
So versus living in college, is there any real difference between living independently in a college versus living independently just like
in a share house?
Yeah.
Huge difference. My college was quite nice because they did have we called them flats on the premises, and you could stay in one of those, and so you had your own like little kitchenette and lounge room and things like that. But for people who don't know what a college is like, it's just mostly big buildings with really long corridors, and everyone gets your own bedroom with like a bed and a desk in it. But you'll have shared meals in the dining hall. Like it's cleaned for you once a week. The meals are cooked for you. There's partial care, that sort of thing. Whereas when you move out by yourself, there's none of that. Like you have to do the grocery shopping, you have to do the cleaning. You do get more of your own space, which is quite nice because at college there's people around you 24/7. But with that own space comes so much more responsibility about looking after yourself.
Yeah, would you say for like uni students especially, or not even uni students, just any young person who is, well, yeah, I guess uni students because you have to go to
You do
uni
have to go to uni
go to college.
Yeah.
So who wants to take that step to independence, like move out but doesn't want to fully move out, is college a good in-between?
It's a perfect in-between. And
because like everything's taken care of for you.
Yeah,
apparently.
no, it's like it's growing up and moving out, but it's cheating because like, yeah, people do look after you. But I loved college. It was great, and it was so nice coming. Obviously, I lived in Adelaide before this, but coming back and just having automatically 200 people that I could become friends with and who were excited to, you know, be adults and be young adults, and I got to do activities with them and things like that. It was great. So I loved college, and I wouldn't go back because I had my time. And I do think that there is such thing as too much of a good thing. And I'm glad that I left when I did so that I didn't become sick of it. But yeah.
Do you feel spoiled by college now that you're living alone and do you have to take care of yourself?
Although I do feel I felt spoiled by college now moving out, although college is notorious for having bad food. You tried the meals at college once, didn't you?
It wasn't that bad.
I think you came on a good day.
I was just marveling at the novelty of people just giving me food to eat. I was like, give me more.
This is probably going to sound really spoiled, but at college, like a menu gets published for the week and you know what you're eating for
3-course meals.
Yes, we get breakfast, lunch, and dinner at my
Wow.
college.
And like dessert and stuff.
And there was dessert as well after
and like
dinner.
snacks.
Not really snacks as much. You kind of had to fend for yourself with snacks, but you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner and dessert, so you're fine. But yeah, they'd publish a menu and you would be able to see what you were eating every day for the week, which was great, except when you noticed that they started repeating the meals and then you just get really sick of it and you'd be like, oh my God, I don't want to eat this again. Which is so spoiled because the food's literally being cooked for us, but...
Did you have like the facilities to make something yourself?
See, no, not really. If you weren't in a flat, there's little kitchenettes on your floor, but they've got a sink and like a toasty machine in them. So if you don't like the college food, then there's not really an alternative.
Yeah. And so does that mean like college didn't teach you any life skills to live independently either?
I mean, I got pretty good at washing my clothes pretty fast. Yeah. No, it teaches you lots of life skills, but probably not domestic life skills. Like I got really, really good at socializing with people I don't know and problem solving when, you know, it is late at night, something like that, and I can't turn to mum and dad and be like, please help me with this. Like I have to figure it out for myself. And those sorts of things you get really good at because there is the support networks to help you find your feet. But yeah, the domestic skills like cooking and cleaning, that's all done for you. So
Yeah.
don't learn that.
Hey, you're listening to the Whelm podcast. Stay whelmed. And then were your parents okay with you going to college?
So they both went to colleges as well because they're both from country New South Wales. So they moved when they went to university in Sydney, they went to colleges. And so they kind of knew what I was getting myself into, which I think reassured them because they definitely missed me and I missed them.
So you felt homesick?
I did. I definitely did. And it's weird because for me at least, it creeps up on you. Like sometimes I'd just be having a really, really bad day and I'd be in a really bad mood and I couldn't actually figure out why I was in such a bad mood. And then like my mum would call or I'd see something about home and I'd be like, oh, that's what it is. Like I'm missing home and I feel homesick. And when you live away from home, you do with other people, I feel at least that sometimes you always kind of have to be on socially. There's never, you can't just,
there's no off.
No, there's no off. You can't just sit on your couch and lounge around. Yeah, there's always people around you and obviously you become comfortable with them because they become your friends, but it's never quite the same as your family.
Wow, I never actually thought about that because especially like even just living, I don't know, with another housemate, it's not the same as just living with family.
Yeah.
They've seen you grow up.
Exactly.
There's no like having to put on a social persona.
You don't have to
or
hide
anything.
anything from family. And
Yeah.
hopefully you find, like when you move out, you find a good roommate who you don't have to hide anything from them anyway, but it's just not as foolproof.
Yeah. And so you did say that your nuclear family was really tight-knit. Did anything in your relationship with your parents change when you became like independent of them, when you left the nest?
Yeah, there was definitely, my mum puts it really, really well actually, and she goes, I'm learning how to become friends with you rather than parent you.
Ooh.
Because it is a little bit like that now. Like I'm an adult, they're adults. Speaking for my parents, obviously my siblings are still my siblings. Our relationship hasn't really changed that much.
I don't think any sibling relationship really changes.
We're going to be like 70 and it's still going to be like it is. But yeah, with my parents, it's really interesting changing from them being my parents because we were always friends and we always got along. But obviously they had to parent me so that I could become who I am and learn the ways of life. And now it's almost as if I'm seeing them get younger because they're like, but they're sharing with me the silly sides and the inside adult jokes and things like that I couldn't.
You're seeing them as people.
Yeah, I'm
not
seeing them as
parents.
people, and I'm seeing them as my friends rather
Yeah.
than just my parents. And don't get me wrong, like I'm saying that I've become friends with my parents, but there's definitely still times where we forget that we're friends and they forget that I'm an adult and they tell me to do stuff and I'm like, you can't ask that of me anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're on parallel lines now. You run your own life. now.
yeah. And it's actually, I think the hardest thing about living so far away from them is when they do come and visit, it's so intense because I'm only seeing them for such short periods of time that you want to spend all the time with them and do everything with them. But obviously if you're living on top of someone for 2 weeks, there's like you're going to have arguments and you're going to have fights, which you don't want to have when you're only seeing someone for such a short period of time.
Yeah.
But when you've set up your life and you've organized your life with these people who are in it, but they're not in it day to day, and then they come in it day to day, it's a big shock. You have to rearrange everything.
Yeah. Do you think you've grown more as a person that you have like been through college experiences and like now living independently as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think it made me grow up in some ways quite quickly. Just because, nothing makes you feel more like an adult than having to, this is probably not college, this is like living in a share house now, but paying water bills and going grocery shopping and making sure the lawn's mowed and the bins are put out and all the random daily things that living at home probably you wouldn't even have to think of. Or you'd do it and you'd help, but you wouldn't realise that if you don't do it,
It's not going to get done.
it doesn't get done.
Yeah. Speaking of like now living independently, how did that transition go from moving out of college to living independently?
So-
and was it hard like to find a place and all of that?
I moved out with some girls from college, which was quite nice because obviously it's easy. You've got the people there. Easy to find.
Very convenient.
You want to move out? I want to move out. Perfect. Let's move out together. Well, finding a house was stressful because we moved out at the end of last year when a lot of other people from college were moving out and when there wasn't a lot of space in Adelaide. And I was hearing all these horror stories of people looking for houses for months and not finding anything. I think we got really, really lucky.
Sorry, I know nothing about the renting or housing market
that's all right.
because I still live at home. But isn't most places you rent straight from the landlord or is there like an intermediary?
So, when you sell a house, you get a real estate agent.
Yeah.
They also rent houses out.
Oh,
Yes.
what?
Yes. So most people who have houses that they rent out, like kind of not give the house, but they hire an agent, a real estate agent, and then when you want to rent a house, there'll be like an open home viewing for the house that's being rented out, and you'll go there and you'll meet the agent, and the agent will give you the paperwork from the agency to apply to live in the house.
Oh, so if there's like any issues and stuff, everything goes through the agent?
Yes, everything goes through the agent and they're paid to fix it. And then if it's like a really big issue, they'll take it to the landlord. But for the everyday things like, the doors falling off its hinges or things like that, the agent will just organise someone to come and fix it.
Oh, that's so strange because all I've heard is like people being like, yeah, I had to like call my landlord and blah, 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 and they didn't come and stuff. And I was like, oh, there's an agent.
No.
Oh.
I guess it would depend on the rental agreement.
Yeah.
as
It
well.
would. And sometimes there'll be an agent, but you'll still be in direct communication with the landlord, things like that. But yeah, we don't have an agent. It's just directly from the landlord, which means that there's no middleman if one
To
of
like
us isn't
soften
happy.
things.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, okay. Any horror stories for us?
None of our doors have locks. So
Seriously?
Yeah. So
Did you notice that when you first went and viewed the house?
we
Or was
did.
that
That
after?
was so there's definitely been a couple of occasions of people not knocking on the bathroom door while other people have been showering, that sort of thing. We got broken into. You guys do know this story, but we got broken into last week, which was absolutely terrifying because we were all home at the time. It was 9 p.m. The lights were on. My car was in the driveway. We were watching TV in the lounge room and we heard the front door open. And my housemates and I were terrified because we're all young women and we were like, who's in our house?
Yeah.
We're all here.
To make these clear, though, they didn't pick the lock or anything. The front door was just unlocked.
It was unlocked, but it was shut.
Yeah, and I mean, you're in the house, so you don't expect someone to walk
obviously,
in.
if we were now, we lock the door all the time.
Yeah, I'd hope so.
but I don't know. You don't think that someone's gonna walk into your house while you're there, and so I grabbed my hockey stick and I had to go and check that all the rooms were empty, which was really, really scary because what if someone was there? I don't know what I was going to do, bash them with my pink hockey stick. I'm 5'4" for everyone listening, not the most intimidating. But they stole my housemate's wallet and house keys, so we had to get the locks changed. She had to cancel her card because they'd spent money on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And it was really scary because my parents weren't there. I couldn't be like, Mum and Dad, someone's in our house. Can you go fix it?
Yeah.
We had to fix it. And we had to talk to the police and talk to the locksmith and
Man, that would have been terrifying.
It was scary that night when they'd taken the house keys and we didn't know if they were going to come back in the night.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't change the locks
Did you even
during the night.
sleep?
I did sleep a little bit. It was kind of stressful. But
I mean, what would the house keys have even done if there are no locks and anything in the house?
No.
anyway?
Sorry. There's key locks on the front doors.
Yeah, the front doors. But
Yes.
say okay, they can get through the front door, but everything else
That's
in the
the
house
thing.
is open.
If they get in the front door, they can get in anywhere else
Yeah,
because
true.
we don't have bedroom door locks or anything like that.
That is so scary. And you hear about people, oh yeah, I got stolen from blah, 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 but you never think it would actually happen to you. And what would you even do in that situation?
Yeah.
Wow. Any horror stories from college?
I think the one thing about college that's probably considered a horror story is everyone lives very close. So you hear a lot
Say no more.
about what people are doing. Quite literally you hear them, but then also it's the rumor mill. If something happens that night, everyone knows about it by the next one.
Wow.
So don't do anything at college. Don't tell anyone what you're doing at college.
Yeah, hot tip.
If you don't want people to know.
Being
because
mysterious
everyone's
is
gonna know.
very sexy.
Yeah.
So when you say that you're friends with your parents, that really blows my mind because obviously maybe it's a cultural thing, but I don't think I could ever become friends with my parents.
Do you think that was just the way that you were brought up? Do you think it's from childhood? Do you reckon there's a different parenting style?
Yeah. I was born and raised here in Adelaide, born and bred. True Adelaidean, whatever you want to call it.
True blue Aussie.
But my parents are from India, and so they're immigrants. Does that make me second gen immigrant or first gen?
No, first gen would be if you'd
Moved.
moved
So I'm
from
first
India.
gen.
Okay,
So I'm first
so
gen.
I'm second gen.
You've just reached the midpoint of our really amazing episode, and if you've been tuning out, what are you doing? Also, this is a reminder to go and get a glass of water or a cup of tea or coffee, whatever you're in the mood for, and come back when you're all refreshed. But anyway, back to the episode.
I could go on a huge tangent about growing up with as an immigrant child or whatever. That's a whole different topic. But just with parental expectations, if my happiness doesn't align with their expectations, I still I feel a bit bad that I'm not succeeding in the life they wanted me to. Do you get it? Like, there's, like, everybody goes through that, like, not rising to your parents' expectations and that. But it's just the whole immigrant thing where they literally built a life here for us, and it's just a whole nother level to it.
Do you feel like you owe them something?
Yeah. Not even owe. It's more like just, there's no debts or owes. It's just more, I completely, like, I understand. I empathize or I sympathize with just how difficult that must have been, and I want to make sure all of their troubles were not for nothing.
No,
I
yeah.
guess. And I still live at home, and being a uni student, working, having that kind of independence, like, I'm past 18 now. I do my own taxes. I go to work. I have my own money. I study what I want in uni. I have that independence, blah, blah, blah. All of that kind of is really jarring when I go home and I'm still living under their thumb, kind of. Like, I have a taste of independence, but then
It's not
I'm
complete.
still, I still have to cater to my parents.
Yeah.
I got a sweet taste of freedom when they left for 4 weeks to go to India, and I was taking care of myself, and I kind of realised I'm really bad at taking care of myself.
Bobby was sending us photos of the food she was making.
Yeah, I was like, every like week or so I would send a photo, which is about how much I cooked as well, because I was living off chicken tenders for 3 days straight. Like, I'm not even kidding. And I had Ben and Jerry's for the first time, because normally it's like $15, right?
expensive.
It's expensive. And like, now that my parents weren't home, I was like, let's like buy the really expensive ice cream that I've never had, because I have no impulse control and no parental supervision. And oh my God, Ben and Jerry's changed my life, guys. I'm not even kidding. That it's so sweet, and like, no other ice cream hits that sugar point.
No.
So now everything still tastes sweet, but it doesn't hit that sweet spot
Ben
that
and
I
Jerry's
want.
slaps.
Yeah.
Like, if people want a key to my heart, buy me some Ben and Jerry's.
I know, and like,
Not the vanilla one though.
yeah, not the vanilla, and the chunks in it is just so chunky.
Yeah.
I can't go back now. I literally
Don't move out.
Yeah.
Buddy, Ben and Jerry's. Which one do I pick?
Yeah, so living at home, hearing the experiences of people who moved out and living independently, and getting some, like, a little practiced test in that when my parents were away for 4 weeks, I did really well. Like, I really, really enjoyed the freedom, what you were talking about. You can go out at 4 a.m. and no one's there to tell you no, or no one know, like, you're not obligated or responsible to anyone else. But living, like, just having to cook for myself, oh my God, I don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah, welcome to my world.
Yeah, people who live independently out of home, international students, even rural students who have to live alone here in Adelaide. I do not know how you guys do it, because I did it for 4 weeks, and the only thing getting me through it was that, oh, this will end soon. Like, I only just have to wait it out. It's not like the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting, because, like, for me, I actually found that I was good at taking care of myself when my parents weren't here compared to when they actually were there. So, like, last year, they went for one of my brother's cycling competitions for, like, a week. And, like, I'm very attached to my family. So, yes, I was feeling like what Belle was saying before, like, feeling homesick. Like, it's not about, like, being in a space, like, away from home. It's more like when my parents are not there, like, I miss them, even though I'm living in our house.
Yeah.
So, like, I think maybe it was, like, a compensatory mechanism. I started, like, doing more to take care of myself in a way.
Oh.
So maybe the homesickness is good. Like, it's making me, like, take charge of my life.
It's probably like a healthy coping mechanism.
Yeah.
That's good. I can't relate, but it's
Yeah. That's so good. Yeah.
It's interesting. Like, I was cooking, I was cleaning, I was feeding the pets, like, getting up at the same time every day. It was weird.
Well, I guess, yeah, also when you're, like, forced into a situation where you have to, like, you just have to. Like, otherwise you starve. That's it. There's no in between. Like, you either do it or you don't. No, but I also found that because I was staying at home with my sister, I didn't realize how much of having just another person there was really helpful. So, like, if you didn't get something done, I could just message her and be like, oh, can you do this? Or, like, I forgot to, you know, hang out the laundry. Can you just do it? Often it would just be like, no, like, I'm not doing that or something like that. But just, like, going home and having someone there, because it can be quite isolating living alone, like just by yourself, no one else as well, and everything's dependent on you.
Yeah, my 2 weeks in COVID hotel quarantine told me that I don't know if I'd be very good living by myself.
Yeah.
Start drawing on the walls.
Well, it was a hotel room, so I couldn't. But tempting. Hey, it's Bella, and you're listening to the Whelmed podcast.
So for today's episode, I've brought on a very special guest. She's a very good friend of ours who's recently moved out and able to share experiences as a uni student living out of home. Welcome to the podcast, Bella. Bella, say hi.
Hello.
How are you feeling? Underwhelmed, overwhelmed, or just whelmed?
I'm partly whelmed. No, I would say I feel overwhelmed, but right now I'm underwhelmed, so.
Excuse me? Is that because of the podcast?
No, I'm very whelmed with this Whelmed podcast.
So Bella has recently moved out of home. Are you living, like, renting alone or with in a share house or just with housemates?
Yeah, so I'm currently living with one housemate, and we live in a unit together. I met her over New Year's, so it's and then everything only happened in the last 2 months where I moved out.
Wait, you met her on New Year's and 2 months later you have moved into a house together.
We're like besties now.
Yeah, I've seen relationships that move faster. Yeah. So do you also study and work at the same time?
Yes, so I'm studying full time, but I only have 3 subjects at the moment, and then I'm also working as an NDIS support worker person.
How did you go about finding your share house?
Well, I wasn't really looking. It sort of just came up. I had wanted to move out at the end of high school, which is so, I don't know, unreasonable, I feel like, to move straight out. But it sort of came up again when one of my sisters was moving back home. I wasn't trying to avoid her. It was more just I wanted, some of my own space. And I do have 3 sisters, so it was pretty crowded at home. I also did want to become more independent. I knew that there were things that I needed to work on. I feel like I haven't answered your question at all, but
That's all right.
and so, and I definitely have had the chance to work on things, but it sort of just fell into my lap, if I'm honest.
Well, that's good.
So it was really smooth. My housemate was she was going away to Japan for a little bit. So then I had like a month to sort of think about it a bit more, and then...
So did she already have the house with the spare room?
Yes. So she's been living there for a little while, and it's a 2-bedroom place. It's, pretty like spacious really for a unit, but it's been, really good.
No, that's good because I know with the rental market in Adelaide, especially at the end of last year, I had a lot of friends moving out and people were looking for houses for like months to try and find something.
Wow.
Because there was like, someone told me there was a 0.7 occupancy rate in Adelaide or something like that.
No way.
Yeah, I might want to fact check that one. But how do you go, like how is it paying rent and things like that? Do you have to budget for it every week or?
Well, with my work, I get paid fortnightly, so I need to sort of have 2 amounts of rent, stored up. And I pay it in the middle of the week too. So I just have a direct debit set up into an account, which and then my housemate pays it, which is pretty handy. But yeah, I just need to make sure that I have the money there, and then it's chill. Yeah. I'm not really adulting because I'm not paying it myself, but yeah.
No, you are. Like, you earn money and then you have to budget that. Do you have, like, any budgeting tips, or, like, do you have any strategies that you actually use to make sure you've got enough money in your account?
Well, I would say don't follow what I did, which was I asked for more work, but I didn't have that completely secured because I do shift work. It's not like I get set hours every single week. And so for like the first like month and a bit, like only now I'm really getting the hours that I initially asked for. And so it was really tricky managing finances because I wanted to sort of, when I moved out, I wasn't in the exact position I wanted to be financially to have sort of like a bit of a, what is it, a parachute, safety net.
There it is.
And so during that time when I still wasn't really working that much, I was sort of building a safety net and paying rent. And so then it just left me with not a lot of money for food because I was like, I need to pay bills eventually.
Not a lot of money for food. I think I recall you telling me once that you budgeted for going out, but not for groceries.
Okay, but that's necessary. Like if someone is organised to hang out, I can't just cancel and be like, sorry, I need to buy bread. Like I can't go out with
I
you.
think that's a pretty legit reason to cancel.
Is it though?
So did your priorities change when you moved out?
Yes.
What were the things that surprised you about moving out that you didn't realise?
Well, I feel like before I moved out, like 90%, not 90%, a lot of my money would be spent on food and going out because that was sort of, how, that's a lot of social things these days, especially with uni students. It's like, let's go get lunch. And I love eating and having food. And so my priorities sort of changed to, okay, I need to pay rent now and I also need to have enough for bills and I also need to build a safety, all the responsible things. Yeah, like if you are working and studying and doing all the things, then like I feel like, like over, like once you're getting settled, because I've only moved out for like 2 to 3 months now, less than 3 months. And so I'm just, slowly finding some sort of balance where I'm both buying food and going out with friends, but responsibly in that I'm not doing it all the time so that I can still manage everything.
How did you find starting to, this is me assuming that you didn't always cook when you lived at home, but like...
She doesn't cook now.
What do you mean?
She has no groceries.
I make ramen. What?
Because I think for me, one of the most exciting things about moving out was the ability to like cook my own food and plan for it. And then I realized that it's actually a lot of work and it's kind of hard.
Mm-hmm. And you have to clean everything.
Yes, the cleaning as well.
And buying the groceries. But no, I thought that when I moved out, I was like, I'm going to just cook food all the time. I like cooking. I'm going to do it. I realized I don't like cooking. Like I've cooked a handful of times since moving out, really. Like I've eaten, okay, this is like most people, like I've either gone to people's houses for dinner or I've like had people make me food, which is super lovely. But no, I found that the chore, like not cooking, that I do the most is like washing. I've found a love for washing, which is really strange, and I didn't think that was going to happen anyway.
So because it's so fresh, like moving out, do you have like regret it, or would you tell other uni students, be like, oh yeah, moving out's great, or would you be like, oh no, stay at home for as long as possible?
I really think it depends on, where your headspace is at with it. Like if you think it's really important for your growth and you have enough financial stability to do it, whatever that looks like for you, I would say go for it, because
yeah, like even though your parents could be like, this is great, like you're saving money, like being at home is good. Yeah, like prolonging that, yeah, like it'll only last so long, and like I just wanted to learn skills more and like how to do things more. So I would say it's been a really beneficial thing for me to do. Yeah.
So, have you learned anything surprising about yourself? Do you think, like, when you've, the past 2-3 months since you've moved out, have you grown as a person?
I would like to think so. Yeah, because like I get a lot more time to sort of just be in my own space. Like when I come home, it's either me or my housemate and myself. And yeah, like I get to spend time studying and just spending my time how I want to and not just how I'm used to spending it whilst living at home. And I feel like I've become a lot cleaner, like living with a housemate over family because, I've just been more aware of, like budgeting and how important that is, and also how important it is to, like look after yourself with just those like random physical, like meeting your own physical needs. And yeah, like seeing how other people's generosity has been really like beneficial to me by receiving meals and stuff.
Receiving food.
And also having people host me at their house for food and stuff. And yeah, if people do want to go out and they pay for meals, that's great too.
That's a little tip. If you know someone who's moved out, just pay for it all.
It's expensive moving out.
Yeah. Like, all those like little things you didn't realize you needed. Like a spatula. Like it's just, there's always one at home. And then when you move out and there isn't one when you need it, you're like, oh, I have to go buy one.
So many people have been like, oh yeah, I just go in the fridge and it's just full of food, like people who live at home. And I'm like, yeah, it's like that until you move out. And then there is nothing in the fridge unless you specifically go and get it. But I moved out with like one spatula, one wooden spoon, and then she has like pots and stuff. But I feel like a spatula and a wooden spoon are like the only things you need to cook.
Covers all your bases.
Exactly.
Is it hard stopping yourself now that you have your own money, you're independent, there's no one looking over your shoulder basically, just to not buy like a whole cake or something, or like ice cream and stuff and just eat at home? And you know, when your parents are like, if you wanted to buy something when you were living with your parents or when you were younger, and they were like, no, there's food at home, or like, you don't need that, whatever. But now the only person who can stop you is you. Do you find that difficult to like?
I feel like because I've been given the opportunity to like be responsible for myself, I feel like I am more like, no, I'm being responsible and I'm not just spending money on random things. But I definitely like things in the fridge. Like I'll just, like if I have cheese, I'll just eat the cheese as much as I want because there's no one around to watch me. But also like any sort of drinks I have in the fridge, I'm like, no one else is going to touch this. And I will just like drink milk straight from the carton, or like, I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, that's my rebelliousness.
Drinking milk straight from the carton.
Yeah, I know.
You mean
watch out.
just being unhygienic.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said. That's
but
pretty
you just
gross.
said you liked washing dishes.
Yeah.
So if you don't pour it into the cup, there's no dishes to wash.
No, I like doing like clothes, like laundry washing.
Like
Sorry, not washing dishes. That's
you know
fine
that's
too.
just like putting clothes in a machine.
I know, but then hanging it out and then folding it afterwards.
Do you guys have like a backyard?
We have like this like rectangle bit of cement and it has a washing line. And there are some plants, but it's nothing that special, no.
Do you think it would have been different if you'd moved out with someone who's a really close friend compared to who you're living with right now?
Oh, yeah. The friendship make or break.
Ooh, no, I would say like move in with a friend, but just like make sure you're on the same page first. Like have a conversation about like how would you handle chores? Like would you want to divvy them up? Make sure like, you know, the state of their room. Nah, don't judge people by the state of their room. Otherwise I would have never found a housemate. But yeah, like I think it is chill.
Any tips and tricks you would want to share that you've learnt, like living alone?
I feel like anything people did tell me, I just sort of ignored. And then I was like, oh, I see now. Like someone was like, stay at home because, you know, blah, blah, blah. And like the cons of, moving out. And then I'm like, no, it'll be chill because like I won't have to worry about A, B, C, D anymore. And then I was like, oh, wait, but then I do need to worry about these other things, which is like...
Yeah, I guess like even when people tell you things, until you actually experience it yourself, you're not really gonna like understand.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, how did your relationship change with your parents when you moved out?
Yes. Well, my parents at the very start didn't want me to move out because they just thought this is a really stupid decision. Like, why would you do that when we're already supporting you at home? And it's close to uni and like it just makes sense for you to be at home. So why would you want to? So yeah, it took a little time for them to sort of adjust to like that's the decision that I had made. And still, over the past little bit, they've been like, when are you moving home and stuff? And I'm like, thanks for supporting my decision. Like I think it's gotten better and worse. Like I think like the time that I spend with them is more quality time than just like physical being around them time. I think the tricky part is just them navigating me making my own decision even if they disapprove, which is really tricky.
Yeah. And do you feel like any expectations they had of you or how they thought of you as a person is now like lessened or disappeared now that you have your own space and you're living independently and you don't really have to like live up to those expectations anymore?
I definitely feel like any sort of, like I feel like I'm someone who gets affected by comments in passing more than, I don't know, a regular person. Like people would just let it go, but I would just be like, what does this mean? So like any sort of off the cuff comments that like they can't make them to me if I'm not living with them anymore.
I can't hear the shit I can't hear what they say if I'm not there.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. So their expectations are just, however many kilometers away now from me. Nah. But I think like when I was living at home, there was a bigger expectation of me to like contribute to the communal like cleaning of everything. And I would spend a lot of time, either out at uni or out at work or eating out. And so I wouldn't really be home. And so I would get frustrated because I'm like, I didn't create this mess. And so now, that's not an expectation of me anymore to like help clean the house. So I guess,
that is so true. I get frustrated still because I still live at home and just... It's
or
like,
you.
It's like my parents like make mess. I wouldn't say messes. It's just like the normal daily living routine.
Yeah.
But then get annoyed if I don't help clean it up. And I'm like, I'm not there. Like, this isn't my problem.
I've just walked in the house.
Yeah, I've literally just walked into the house. No, you're right. Do you ever get homesick?
I would say, well, I have actually visited my family like every week, sometimes multiple times a week, which seems like a lot, since I moved out. Sometimes because, like I'll be working like over that side of town and they will ask me all the time, when are you coming home? And so it's sort of, so I guess that expectation is like the expectation that I'll meet at, visit them. But yeah, I feel homesick sometimes when like I'll have a good day hanging out with them. Like yesterday I had a really nice day hanging out with the family. And I'll miss, just like my room and being around them. But then, I still, sometimes I'll go home and I'll be like, I'm kind of glad that I have moved out. Just because even though I do miss them, it doesn't mean that I want to be there 24/7, which is really sad to say, but also, just how I feel. Like I feel like I'm at the point where my independence is something that I want to put first. Yeah.
What's your top tip?
My top tip,
Bring a spatula.
that's all you need. I would say if you want to move out, if you don't want to, that's fine. But people who don't move out, you don't need to judge the people who do. I think it's a perfectly okay thing to want to do because I did actually read something that sort of like young adulthood is being sort of prolonged. Like people who were like 24, I don't know, 50 years ago or so, like they would like have a house and kids and be married and all of that sort of stuff. And now like the average age for that is like more into your 30s. But I don't think we need to necessarily like stay in the position that we are. Like I am still studying. I could have definitely waited until after finishing study, but I did see that this was something that like if I didn't take the opportunity then, like I wasn't sure when another thing would arise because of the housing market being so tricky at the moment. But it was something I wanted to do, and there were lots of people around me who were like, if this is what you want to do, like go for it. And I don't regret not ignoring their advice.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you find that now having to balance work, uni, and taking care of yourself, literally, leaves you little time for hobbies?
Well, like in the first week that I moved out, I did some art, and like now I just feel like I just do very casual like doodles and stuff. That's like that's how I de-stress. But I feel like I think we all have like so much time, but we just spend it doing different things like on social media. Like if I spend 4 hours on social media a day, I could do so many different crafts or I don't know. I don't even do craft, but you could do so many things in that time. But I feel like my schedule is probably like I should spend more time doing uni work over extra hobbies and stuff. But I think there are plenty of hours in the day to do it. It's just, time management.
I think that's all we've got time for today, but thank you so much for coming onto our podcast, Bella, and just sharing all of your thoughts and experiences with us. It was really insightful, actually. I think I know you better as a friend now.
Whoa, what did you learn?
You like to do the laundry.
Oh dear. Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
That's all we've got for today. Once again, thanks for listening and go check out our socials. Stay whelmed.